I, 33 male, found out my wife, 34 female, of 11 years, was having an affair. I found out a week before Christmas 2023. I found out in probably the second worst way, first being catching them having intimacy. I found out purely by accident. We had recently upgraded our phones because she broke hers beyond being usable. And when we set up the new ones, there were photos and videos she wanted from my phone that she wanted transferred over to her new one. So I signed into her Gmail account to sync with the cloud. I keep my old phone to play games and stream as it is still a good phone. Phone upgrades happened in late October or early November. Anyway, fast forward to December, just before Christmas, and the Google Photos app pings. Check out your memories from 2023 inches or something close to that on the old gaming phone. I tap it expecting photos of our 2 kids, family outings, things of that sort. What I was not expecting was to find nudes of my wife. I realized that she did not turn her cloud sync off on her new phone, and the picture synced with my old phone. My heart immediately sank. I knew they weren't meant for me. In the 11 years we had been married, I have often said that I would love if she were to take some sexy pictures for me, but she never showed any interest. I never pushed the issue. It was just something I thought would be nice. The date stamps on the pics showed the earliest ones were from about a week prior, with the most recent a close-up of her female genitalia, taken just the day before while I was in the next room, working weekend overtime. I spiraled very quickly after that, with every possible scenario running through my head. I almost broke right then and there. I was able to keep it together long enough to get my head straight. I remember that between her breaking her phone and me having the money to pay for the upgrades, she had been using a very old phone that we had lying around. It couldn't do much but let her log into her Facebook and make calls. I pulled that old phone out and powered it back up. Her Facebook was still logged in. I went through her messenger and found the man she was cheating on me with. It was someone from her past that she had dated. She was smart enough to not have him as a friend on Facebook, so I have no idea how long he had been back in her life. It looked like they deleted their messages regularly, as it only showed a few they had traded that day, one of which was a video of my wife in which she was picking the names of the children she wanted to have with him. I have never felt such pain before. I was devastated. I almost ended it at that very moment. What need is there for me to still be around? I had already been replaced. I also considered going scorched earth and taking screenshots of their chats with her, saying he was sent to her by heaven, and posting them on her Facebook and sending them to everyone on her friends list. But the only thing that stopped me was the fact that I still loved her. I could not bring myself to do something that would hurt her. I confronted her that same night. I asked her to tell me why, with who, how long, and had the affair been physical. She barely gave me any straight answers. She said it had been going on for a while, and they had had intimacy before. She would not tell me who, but I already knew that from the Facebook messages. Her reason for why was, I didn't know if you loved me as much as I love you. She said she did not feel the love for me because I hadn't been getting her gifts for Valentine's Day or Mother's Day, and that I would not get upset at the things that would make her upset. Instead, I would usually try to get her to look at issues logically instead of emotionally. As far as the gift thing goes, it's true that for several years, I had not gotten her anything on the specific holidays. But that was usually because we had already spent our recreational money, usually on something that she would want, or something for the kids, or a thing she wanted to do. I would also tell her that if we do this thing or buy this stuff now, we would not have any more spending money. She would always say, "That's fine." She never gave me any indication that she was unhappy with me or our life together. The entire time we have been married, I thought I was doing everything right. I always made sure we had everything we needed. I always put her wants ahead of mine. I would go places and do things that I didn't really have an interest in because she wanted to. I never complained and never dismissed her hobbies or interests. I always made sure we did things and went out to break the routine of me at work and her doing the house chores. I gave everything to our marriage, to being what I thought was a good husband and father. We talked the night I confronted her. She said she was sorry she hurt me. I honestly can't remember if she actually said she was sorry/regretted the affair. That night is a bit of a blur when I try to remember all the details. She said that she never stopped loving me. She says she truly wants to be with me. I still love her, but that is what makes it so painful. I want to continue with our marriage, but now I am overtaken with insecurities and doubts. I was already doing what I honestly thought was my best. There has been the constant thought now in the back of my mind that if it wasn't good enough before, how can it be enough now? Should I even try? I feel like my life has lost its purpose. I feel dead and empty inside. I have just been going through the motions. I am horribly depressed. I can't envision my future anymore. Do I stay in this marriage knowing it will never be what it once was, or rather what I thought it was? Or do I call it quits and take my chances on my own? Edit formatted it a bit. Sorry about the giant wall of text. I had been writing this through my notes app for a few days, and I just copy-pasted for the post and hadn't taken the time to fix. Answer to a big question that I really can't believe I forgot, concerning the AP. She did message him the night I confronted her to tell him it's over and to never contact her again. She also blocked him. As far as I know, she does not have any other social media besides Facebook. She no longer guards her phone when I'm around and can easily see when she is messaging anyone. It was never like she would hide it from me or get angry if I touched it or anything like that, so that was never a red flag. I have also gone through her phone a few times and have not found any indications of it still ongoing or of any other APs. She does seem to be putting the effort into working through this. But whether or not she genuinely feels remorse or regrets what she did, I cannot say, simply because I'm not sure what that is supposed to look like. I want to say thank you to everyone for the well wishes and concern for my well-being. I honestly didn't expect anyone to actually read this or give advice. I have not made a concrete decision. I am still focusing on simply surviving this ordeal. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. She is sorry she got caught. Not sorry she was allowing someone else to engage in intimacy activity with her. She would still be continuing this affair and considers you a welcome mat. She will continue to do it. She doesn't care about you or your children. Let her go with him. The grass is always greener near the septic tank. Let her engage in promiscuous behavior and find out. You are the backup plan because you are always there. Snatch the rug from under her. Nothing you do should be for her. Start taking care of yourself. If you look back in your relationship, you will see that you are the only one who has made an effort. You are just her ATM. Comment 2. If she had come to you, confessed, felt guilty, and wanted to work things out, you would be justified in wanting to reconcile. But in this case, there were only 2 possibilities in front of you if you had not caught her. The cheating would have escalated, or she would leave you and your marriage for the other person. She has already made the choice for you. You just need to understand your actual situation and divorce as soon as possible. Now, for the update. Thanks for sticking around to hear more of this mess. So, after the whole affair thing blew up, things got even crazier. My wife's sister, who's always been a bit of a tense card, showed up out of nowhere. She's the type to stir the pot, and boy, did she. Turns out, she knew about the affair all along. She dropped this bomb on us during a family dinner, right in front of our kids. My wife went pale, and I could barely keep my food down. The sister went on to say that she thought it was for the best, that my wife find happiness, because apparently I was too dull. That stung. I mean, I've always been more of a steady, keep things running smoothly kind of guy. But dull? That hurt. And the kids, they were confused and upset, asking questions we weren't ready to answer. But here's the kicker. The sister didn't just come to drop truth bombs, she came with an agenda. She wanted money. Said she had some debts and figured we owed her for keeping the secret. Can you believe that? Blackmailing her own sister. My wife, to her credit, refused. She said we had enough problems and her sister needed to leave. That's when things got physical. A full-blown fight broke out. Dishes flying, kids crying. It was a nightmare. I had to physically separate them and get the sister out of the house. The aftermath was just as bad. The kids were shaken, my wife was a mess, and I was just trying to keep it all together. But wait, it gets worse. The next day, I got a call from the bank. There were some irregularities with our accounts. Turns out, my wife had been funneling money to a separate account for months. When I confronted her, she broke down and admitted that she was saving up for a new life with her lover. That was a punch to the gut. All this time, I thought we were rebuilding, and she was planning to leave. I felt like a fool, a complete and utter fool. I had been trying to patch things up, going to counseling, trying to be a better husband. And for what? So she could leave me high and dry? I was angry, more angry than I've ever been. But I kept it together for the kids. They don't deserve any of this. So I did the only thing I could think of. I took action. I moved half of the remaining money to a new account, just in case she tried to clean us out. I also started looking for a lawyer. If this was how it was going to be, I needed to protect myself and the kids. The whole situation is a mess. I'm trying to navigate through this storm, but it's hard. I'm angry, hurt, and I feel betrayed all over again. And the worst part? I still have this nagging feeling that I'm missing something, like there's another shoe about to drop. But for now, I'm just trying to keep my head above water. Thanks for listening. It helps to get it all out. My husband invites his nephew to live with us without asking, and I'm ready to walk out with our kids. But instead, I turn the tables and make sure his parents can't ditch their son, while we save our marriage and set up a trust fund. Large update. This might be the last update on the post, so I will try to make sure and address everything. I spoke with my husband and expressed my concerns, and even the concerns that were brought up by all of you. My husband was very understanding on what I had to say. The biggest thing I got across is that this is about my nephew. Everybody in the family is focused on other things, when we all should be focused on my nephew and his need for a stable home environment. My husband completely agreed. As of now, neither my husband nor I have any details or info on what the family wants. We don't know if they want us to actually take him permanently from today or what. We have no idea. We are right now just watching him. But it will be reaching out to my mother-in-law, MIL, today so that there is no gray area. I put down the fact that I will not let nephew move in until my husband, mother-in-law, father-in-law, Phil, and brother-in-law, Bill, have a table meeting, and we are at the least given an appropriate living situation, as I don't think it's okay that nephew does not have his own private space where we currently live. Until we get this sorted out, my husband and I are dedicated to do everything we can to make sure nephew knows we love him and he is welcome and safe. I want to let everyone know that this is an issue with the adults in this family and their lack of responsibility and maturity, and that I in no way want my nephew to know the extent or stress of these adult issues. I care about him deeply, and when I made this post originally, I was very stressed and upset, and may have worded things incorrectly or not elaborately enough. I appreciate everyone for their advice, and I cannot say enough thank yous. I'm going to do everything I can to keep him safe and happy. And if that means he needs to stay with us, he is welcome. But I'll be damned if I don't do everything I can to make sure we get what we need to give him his best life. Thank you all again. Small update. I want to let everyone know that I've read all your comments, regardless of their score, and I've taken everything you all have said into consideration. I've just gotten off work, and I'm hoping to discuss this with my husband as soon as we are both able to. Again, I appreciate everyone's input and taking the time to help me. I'm trying to respond to comments that have more questions, and I'll update the post again once we've come to a conclusion. Right now, this is a crossroad for our relationship, and I don't know what I can do about it. We have 3 young daughters, and that was my limit for kids. I am our primary earner. I work about 50+ hours a week while he stays with the younger kids and works from home. I barely get to see my own children as it is, as I also work nights. Mother-in-law and father-in-law have raised nephew since he was a newborn. His father, my husband's brother, is in the picture. He just doesn't want to take care of nephew. He's let mother-in-law be mommy for the past 9 years. As of now, mother-in-law and father-in-law are divorced. Both have a new boyfriend, girlfriend, and are exhibiting that they don't want to be the parents to nephew anymore. Tonight, my brother-in-law came over, asked if nephew could stay the night because he had stuff to do and couldn't watch him. Then just casually brought up that mother-in-law and father-in-law don't want to take care of him anymore, and that if my husband and I took him, brother-in-law would pay us $1,000 a month. Of course, this was about an hour before I had to leave for work, and I gave my husband the look of, "Don't say a word," and kindly said, "It's okay if nephew stays the night tonight, but my husband and I need to have a serious discussion about taking him in." After I left for work, I called my husband very upset and said, "We needed to have a discussion, but I am in no way comfortable taking in another child when we already have 3 of our own. And when he has a father who is capable of taking care of him, he just doesn't want to." My husband says, "Yeah, but $1,000 a month is a lot of money." And I said, "I didn't care about the money, it's the principle, and I don't think it's something I'm willing to do." But my husband stood his ground, pretty much saying he's going to do it. We don't have room for nephew, he'd have to sleep on the couch. Our girls have their own bathroom and closet, and bringing a 9-year-old boy to live with 3 young girls isn't something I want to do at all. So my question is, what options do I have? Can my husband still take in my nephew even if I say no? We live in an apartment and my name is on the lease. I pay bills and provide for our family. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, "Damn, that sucks for the kid. He's truly going to be messed up. Even the fact that your husband is thinking mostly about the money. Even if you all took him in, it's clear you all wouldn't make him feel welcome. I don't have advice because I do think technically your husband can bring him in without your consent. But damn, I sure feel bad for that kid. Awful, awful, awful." Edit. Just want to add that the fact you're only 23 makes all of this more ridiculous in my opinion. You can't be expected to take on another child. His family is messed up. You all need to take his dad to court. Whoever ends up with the child should be getting more than $1,000. Comment 2, how are you 23 with 3 children yourself and you are the bread maker? How old are your children? How does your husband not understand that it costs way more money to raise a child than $1,000 per month? If he's the SAHP, doesn't he manage the household budget? It may be time to lay down some uncomfortable truths for your husband and his family. You have no business being responsible for all of them. If your husband isn't on board, then tell him he'll be sleeping with the boy on the couch. So he better get really comfortable out there. If you don't put your foot down right now, you will never get out from under this. Now for the update. Thanks for all the comments and advice you've given. Things have escalated since my last update. The situation with my nephew turned our home into a battleground. After the last conversation with my husband, I thought we were on the same page about not taking in my nephew without a proper plan. But I was wrong. My husband went behind my back and promised my brother-in-law that we would take my nephew in. He even shook hands on a deal to accept the $1,000 a month without telling me. I found out when I overheard him on the phone, confirming arrangements with brother-in-law. I felt betrayed. My husband, the man I trusted to stand with me, had sold us out for money. It was a slap in the face, considering all the hours I put in at work to keep our family afloat. I confronted him as soon as he hung up. The argument was heated, and I won't lie, I was furious. He tried to justify his actions by saying it was for the family, but I couldn't see past the betrayal. It wasn't just about the money or the space. It was about respect and partnership, which he had shattered. The aftermath was messy. I demanded that he call brother-in-law and retract the offer. He refused, saying he couldn't go back on his word. That's when I made a choice that would change everything. I told him if he went through with this, I would take the girls and leave. I couldn't stay in a marriage where my voice didn't matter. He must have seen the determination in my eyes because he finally agreed to talk to brother-in-law. But the damage was done. Trust, once broken, isn't easily repaired. We're sleeping in separate rooms now, and the tension is thick enough to cut with a knife. In the midst of this, my mother-in-law called. She had heard about the argument and wanted to mediate. I agreed, hoping we could finally sort this out. But the meeting was a disaster. Mother-in-law revealed that she and father-in-law had been planning to move abroad with their new partners and had been pushing brother-in-law to find a solution for my nephew. It was a shock. They had been planning this for months and hadn't bothered to tell anyone. The family was falling apart at the seams. I was angry, not just for myself, but for my nephew, who was being treated like a problem to be solved rather than a child who needed love and stability. In the end, I took action. I reached out to a family lawyer to understand our rights and responsibilities. The lawyer was clear. Without legal guardianship, we weren't obligated to take in my nephew. Armed with this information, I sat down with my husband and laid out the facts. It was a tough conversation, but it needed to happen. We decided to call a family meeting, including brother-in-law, mother-in-law, and father-in-law. I made it clear that if they wanted us to consider taking in my nephew, they needed to provide a clear plan for his future, including his education, health care, and emotional well-being. The meeting was tense, but it ended with the decision to create a trust fund for my nephew's needs, with contributions from all adults involved. As for my husband and me, we're in counseling. It's not easy, but we're trying to rebuild what was broken. I'm still hurt, but I'm hopeful that we can find our way back to each other. Thank you for sticking with me through this. Your support has meant the world. My wife prefers her girlfriend's company over mine and ditches me after 20 years. So I expose her affair and blackmail to everyone and watch her new life crumble. My wife and I have been married for over 20 years and have a daughter away in college. Since we became empty nesters, we have been traveling a bit more and doing things. We live in the suburbs, but it's only a short trip to a big city and a bustling downtown area. I work from home doing remote work on the computer as a programmer, and she works in the city. Some nights she goes out and tries new restaurants or bars with a small group of girlfriends, and she would then recommend places she's been to for our once-a-week date nights. The issue is that she's been acting strange about us going together to some of the same places she has gone, sometimes multiple times with her girlfriends. She'd make excuses or try to downplay the experience she had when she raved about it earlier. Sometimes she'd suggest doing date night at a nearby mall, which she has hated in the past. That was our date night location for many years. We'd drive our teenage daughter to hang out at the mall, and we'd go to the Cheesecake Factory, or occasionally a higher-end Italian place that opened up, but it was still a chain. So I confronted her, and she said that she was trying to spare my feelings, and that she feels safer being out with her girlfriends than she does with me. One of the last restaurants in the city we went to for a date night has a very large homeless problem nearby, and you can't go there without encountering them. We had an encounter with one guy who would not take no for an answer, and I thought I did pretty well because I got him to eventually leave us alone. But apparently a similar thing happened in their girl group, and one of her friends turned around and quite loudly and forcefully told him to stop following them. And he just scampered off and muttered something. Once she was getting it off her chest, she seemed apologetic, but then almost angry, because I guess she was bottling it up for a long time. She then told me that she never felt comfortable with me traveling with our daughter last year to her new college to move in and get settled. But since I was able to work remotely, it was easier for me to go. And she held her tongue about how she felt to spare my feelings. She told me that the only way she felt good about it was knowing that our daughter took a woman's self-defense course and that she knew what to look out for, while I always looked like a tourist in new places. I got defensive and told her that I traveled for work to cities around the world that were more dangerous than America, including India. She then immediately said that I was with a group, and now you have to see my point. She asked how I would feel if we went as a couple to India, and I said I'd feel responsible for her safety. She said that is how she feels about me when we go out. When she is with me alone, she feels responsible for me because she loves me, not because she thinks I am a coward and would run away, but simply that this is something she does better at than I do. She said that she wants to relax when she goes out and not be responsible for someone. She doesn't feel that way with her girlfriends at all. She knew this would crush me to hear it, so she tried to avoid it. She said that she is more used to the city, more used to dealing with sketchy-looking men, more aware of her surroundings, and frankly more capable of fighting if it came to that. That last one shocked me, but I've never been in a fight. I've gotten bullied and beaten up in the past, but I was never in a fight. She has. She's fought boys back when she was in school, and held her own. She is also very much into working out and fitness, and I sit at a computer for work and have to work long hours. I go to the gym sometimes, and the one thing I have going for me is that I am tall, but I've never been able to put on much muscle or build strength. I'd love to hear from women in a similar situation as my wife. You might feel that you are more capable than your husband or boyfriend, and how do you handle it? And do you think my wife is overreacting or being fair? It hurt my pride, but I can also see her point too. It makes me want to do better at making her more confident in me. But realistically, my work schedule is super crazy right now. ETA came back to look at the responses after being away today, and it's insane the number of people who immediately assume she must be cheating, and this is all some elaborate excuse. It makes no sense. There are easier ways for someone to conceal cheating than all of this if that is what she wanted to do. What a toxic place this is. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Okay, hear me out. Not all men are guard dogs. My ex-husband? Guard dog. I felt safe, but I also felt like I may have to bail him out of jail at some point. My current husband? Not a guard dog. But he's charismatic and funny, and can lighten a tense situation. The difference here is that I don't need a guard dog. I need a partner who supports me and loves me. My current husband is all of those things, and he's the funniest person I've ever met. You may not be a guard dog yourself, but that doesn't demean or take away from who you are. There are reasons she fell in love with you. Plus, talking your way out of a dangerous situation is far more useful than jumping into a fight. Comment 2. There are a few possibilities. None of them look good for this marriage. 1. She's telling the truth. Now OP feels disrespected, emasculated. This is the type of thing that will eat at you and will destroy a relationship. Especially her barb about not trusting you to take care of your daughter. 2. She's lying and is trying to hide something. Not necessarily cheating, but it's a possibility. Now there are trust issues to consider. 3. She's lying and really just doesn't enjoy your company and prefers to keep you at a distance. Either way, this marriage is headed for the rocks without some major changes. Now for the update. Thanks for sticking around for this update. So, a couple of months ago, my wife started coming home later than usual. She said work was crazy, and I believed her because, well, why wouldn't I? But then, one night, she didn't come home at all. I tried calling, texting, but nothing. The next morning, she walks in looking like she'd been through a storm and tells me she'd been mugged. Her purse, phone, everything was gone. I was worried sick, but also, deep down, something didn't sit right with me. Turns out I was right to doubt. A friend of mine spotted her that night, not in some dark alley, but laughing it up at a bar with some guy from her office. When I confronted her, she broke down, admitted to an affair, said it was a mistake, that she felt trapped in our life. I was floored. All this time I thought we were happy, but apparently she was living a whole other life. I didn't know what to do, so I did what I thought was best. I forgave her. I thought we could work through it, get past it. But that's when things got even more complicated. She started getting these anonymous threats. Someone knew about the affair and was trying to blackmail her. We were both scared, didn't know who to trust. It was like living in a nightmare. In the middle of all this, our daughter came home from college unexpectedly. She'd been having a tough time, feeling homesick, struggling with her classes. She needed us. And here we were, caught up in our own mess. I tried to keep it from her, but kids know, don't they? And she could tell something was off. And then, the surprise. My wife's blackmailer turned out to be her so-called friend, the one who'd been going out with her all those nights. She'd been jealous of my wife, wanted her job, her life. It was like something out of a bad movie. The betrayal hit my wife hard. She'd trusted this woman, confided in her, and she'd used it all to stab her in the back. We went to the police, got it all sorted out, but the damage was done. My wife's reputation at work took a hit. Our marriage was hanging by a thread, and our daughter was caught in the middle of it all. I thought we could move past the affair, but with everything else, it was too much. Just when I thought we could breathe again, my wife got offered a job in another city. A fresh start, she said. She wanted us to move, leave everything behind. I didn't want to go, but I didn't want to lose her either. So, I made the choice to move, thinking it would fix things. But here's the thing. I didn't know she'd been planning to leave me. She wanted the job, yes, but she also wanted a new life without me in it. I uprooted our lives for nothing. She's gone now, and I'm here in this new city, alone, with our daughter who's just as confused and hurt as I am. Thanks for reading this mess of an update. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.